So we're here looking at our slope layer that we just generated. And I just want to kind of walk through a few aspects of where we're at with our blended hillshade process. One of the things I like to do is look at how these different layers that we're generating interact with each other individually. And so we can get a better sense of like what it's doing when we're compiling them all together. So for instance, if I was to look at just here's my digital elevation model. What does it look like if I just put the slope on top of that? Right, let's blend those together using multiply. Right, and we can see here's our DEM with the slope with it, right? If we were to add this multi-directional hillshade with our DEM, we can kind of see what that looks like. Right, here's our traditional hillshade. If we were to put this on multiply, right, that's how that looks with the digital elevation model underneath. Adding slope. So you can just kind of get a sense of what all these different values are doing. One thing to note is, be careful kind of returning it back to the blending mode that it's supposed to be in. Okay, so we have our slope. We've added this value here. We've done the multiply blending mode. And the slope adds some depth and some texture, particularly over in this area. But it's quite dark, makes it kind of overdone a little bit. So what we'll do is open up this menu here. We're going to edit the min-max value. And essentially what that does is the minimum maximum value is each pixel in this raster has I'll go to the slope. Each pixel in this raster has a value between 0 and 90, 0 being flat, 90 degrees being a vertical wall, right? And so if we look at our minimum and maximum values, let's go to this graph here, we can see that most of the values in this pixel, or in this, most of the pixels in this raster, right, the vast majority of them have a slope that's like under 5, right? Here's 5. Right, and so what we can do is move this minimum value up and basically say any slope that's under a certain amount, let's just treat that as 0, right? So this is going to emphasize the areas that are high slope and kind of flatten out the areas or minimize the areas that are low or no slope. Right, so let's say, oh, we really want to emphasize those places that are about 15 to 20 degrees slope or higher, right? The steep areas. We want to bring more attention to those. We can move this. Oh, let's move this out to like 15. Right, and we can see that we're just whiting out. Basically, anything that's below 15 is just turned to a white pixel. And then the stretch type, right, the color gradient here, it goes from black to white, right, starts at 15. Or goes from white to black, I suppose is a better way of saying it, because we've inverted it. Right, if we're going to uninvert that, you can see all the black now is less than 15. We invert it, so it provides texture. Okay, so basically this is going from white, every value 15 and below, that's where this gradient starts. Okay, and yeah, now for your map, you can put this will depend on the landscape you're working with. 15 is a good baseline, but essentially you kind of want to eyeball. And can I get like 60% of the histogram here to exist in this whited out area? And about 40%, the steepest 40 to 35, 40% in the gradient. And so, I don't know, it's going to be somewhere between 15 and 20, whatever you kind of visually think looks the best. If you were to go out to here, right, then only slopes above 35 would have any sort of color gradient. So we'll put it like 17. That looks good. Okay, so that's how you set that value. And now if I was to go over here and go to my multiply blend mode, right now it's just capturing more depth, more texture along these steep areas, but it's not darkening the rest of these more flat areas as much. All right, and you can go back, once you get the blend set, you can go back here and adjust a little bit more. I'll put it like 20, see what happens. Okay, so that's how you adjust the min-max value on the slope elevation. And that's kind of what you're looking for when you're going through this. A lot of it's feel, a lot of it is you kind of setting it to a way that is aesthetically pleasing to you and you think captures the characteristics of the landscape most effectively, right? This being kind of canyonland areas in Utah, it's going to have a lot of areas of flat and a lot of areas of steepness. And so from that, we might want to adjust this differently than we would a more gradual mountainous region or a glacial landform or something like that. So, you know, adjusting these values to get that slope dialed in exactly how you want so it emphasizes the parts of the landscape that you're trying to emphasize versus darkening too much as a whole. You know, that's kind of one of the balances that you have to strike when you're adjusting this based on the specific geography, specific landscape aspects that you're trying to map out.